So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you're brand new to my channel, you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, joining my friends and family here on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, dudes. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about the people who really don't get all the credit that they deserve. The underrated guitar players in the world. For whatever reason, although very skilled and talented, these guitar players don't come to the forefront of people's minds when they think of best guitar players of all time. Before we get into our top 5, I'm going to give you 3 honorable mentions. So starting off, first honorable mention is Satchel from Steel Panther. Now, I love Steel Panther, man. I think they're absolutely genius. They're so funny, and they actually have pretty good songs in my opinion. But at the end of the day, they are kind of like a modern day parody, but not really a parody of 80s hair metal. And so it's kind of like, are they really a serious band? They're kind of are, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're not really a full-on serious band. They're kind of an act more than anything. But Satchel can actually rip on guitar. Say what you want about the songs and the performance and the overall visual of the band, Satchel can actually play guitar, and it's kind of funny how he's in like kind of this meme band, but he actually like can absolutely like rip on guitar. So it's pretty cool. I love Steel Panther. Satchel's an honorable mention. My second honorable mention, Jakey Lee. Probably most known for his work with Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, and The Ultimate Sin. He's often overlooked by Ozzy's other guitar players, whether it be Zakk Wylde or Randy Rhoads, whomever. Jakey Lee really doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And he himself actually believes that because he still, to this day, thinks he doesn't have the writing credit that he deserves for Bark at the Moon. And my last honorable mention, a little bit of a controversial, but I'll explain it. Lee Malia from Bring Me the Horizon. Now, although he's not the most technical guitar player and he doesn't have really the most iconic riffs, I really dig his playing, but more importantly, I really dig his setup. Although they're not really a metal band anymore, at one point in time, for you youngsters out there, Bring Me the Horizon was actually pretty damn heavy. My favorite album, Sepultura from 2013, I think is the epitome of Lee Malia's playing and when he was at his absolute best. Shadow Moses, Antivist, House of Wolves, I love that sound on that album, and I love Lee Malia's playing. But guys, again, the reason why he's on this list is not necessarily his skills, but his rig. It's awesome, refreshing, and really cool that he's using, you know, JCM 800s and Gibson and Epiphone guitars. I call it the dad brands. It's very similar to Jim Root, which is why I love Jim Root, is because he's taking stuff that's not really used for modern day metal and he's turning it into metal, and it's refreshing when somebody's using something new and different. It's not a 6505 with an Ibanez, you know what I mean? So say what you want about his playing. I know he's not the most skilled, but I like him for that, using something a little bit unique and different in the modern day world. Alright, honorable mentions are done. Let's get into the list. Coming in at number 5 is Willie Adler. So Willie Adler is actually pretty well known and pretty, you know, well reputable in the metal community, but the reason why he's on this list is because he's overshadowed by Mark Morton. In my opinion, Mark Morton is certainly the more popular guitar player. Maybe that's due to the fact that he writes a lot of the lyrics and as well as a lot of the guitar parts. But Willie Adler, man, he can flat out play. Mark Morton is on the record for actually saying that Willie Adler's tone is much more rowdier and heavier compared to his. Mark Morton describes his own tone as a bit more creamier and a little less, you know, a little less rowdier. And therefore, the overall guitar tone that comes out of Lamb of God's sound can be heavily attributed to Willie Adler. And man, he's got one of the weirdest right-hand picking techniques I've ever seen, and it's cool. It's cool. It's something unique, again. Alright, number 4, Jeff Ling from Parkway Drive. Similar to Lee Malia, Parkway Drive at one point in time was very, very heavy, and they were very, very, like, in-your-face metalcore. You know, they were the epitome of the metalcore scene in the mid-2000s. Flash forward to album releases such as Atlas and Ire, that's when they really started to hone their craft and they started to develop as a band, and now they're not so much a metalcore band, but they're now more of a hard rock band and, you know, regular metal, not metalcore, whatever you want to call that. And I really, really dig that in a way. What was once just a bunch of open chugs and, you know, palm mutes and breakdowns has now turned into a bit more melodic and well-written songs, and I really, really think Jeff Ling is criminally underrated. Number 3, Mick Mars. Now, I'll be honest, I rediscovered Motley Crue during this whole The Dirt movie craze, you know. I knew Mick Mars had an awesome guitar tone and I really dug the stuff he was using, but again, just like everybody else, it seems like everybody forgot about Mick Mars. And that's really weird. At a time of giant hair and Charvels, man, Mick Mars was certainly something different. He wasn't just a pretty boy blonde trying to rip off Van Halen. Mick Mars was doing his own thing. Gibson Les Paul Custom and a Marshall, man, can't go wrong. Some of his early riffs, man, are really, really iconic, and it's just so weird how, for whatever reason, he is just overlooked in the guitar community. Maybe it's because he wasn't as flamboyant as the other 3 members in Motley Crue, but I mean, Looks That Kill, Same Old Situation, Shout at the Devil, there are so many awesome riffs in there. But in all honesty, I don't know Mick Mars personally, but I think he kind of prefers being the underrated guitar player. He's just a quiet guy, and therefore, that is the reason why he just really isn't in the limelight in the guitar community. Number 2, my guilty pleasure, Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit. I love Limp Bizkit, man. I was always a little bit embarrassed to say that I love Limp Bizkit, but you know what, in 2019, I don't care anymore, man. Everybody likes Limp Bizkit. Say what you want about the band, but you know at one point in time, you were bobbing your head to Nookie or Break Stuff. And you know, say what you want about the band, man, but Wes Borland is so underrated. In the time of new metal, just tuning down 7-string guitars and just doing some palm mutes and just, you know, following the drums, if you will. Wes Borland was doing something a little bit different. Yes, he was using 7-string guitars, 7-string Ibanez's, I get that, but he was also using a lot of different stuff. He was using like 4-string basses, he was doing a lot of tapping, a lot of clean stuff. I mean, he was playing through Roland jazz amps for the majority of the time during the live shows, just as much as the heavy stuff. And let's face it, man, he has one of the most iconic riffs in metal history. I don't care what you say, I really believe this. Break Stuff is one of the most iconic riffs of all time. I mean, 2 chords, man, that's all it took to make one of the most iconic riffs. I think it might be, in fact, the most iconic riff of the 90s. And I know that's a huge, bold statement, but for something as simple as everybody knows what it is, and it's heavy and it's sick, and I love it, man. It's like right up there with Walk, like da 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 da. As soon as you hear it, you know what it is. That's the same way it Breaks Stuff, man. And I love Wes Borland's gear and his stage presence. Jackson King V with some EVH amps, that's what he's using relatively now. You know, here and there he's using other stuff, but that's like what he's kind of known for now, or was known for. I like that. I like his gear, I like his playing, I like his riffs. I like Limp Bizkit. Wes Borland, number 2. But guys, what I think is the most underrated band of all time, the most underrated guitar players of all time in metal history, are the boys from Meshuggah. I really believe Martin and Frederick from Meshuggah are so underrated, and I do not understand why. Do you know how hard it is to play the stuff that they play? Do you know how hard it is to play the stuff that they play on an 8-string guitar? Do you know how hard it is to try to keep up with Thomas's feet? I do not understand why Meshuggah in general is not like the most popular metal band of all time, and I just don't get it, man. I don't get how people don't give them the credit that they deserve. I think if I were to guess, people don't understand how complex some of the stuff that they play really is. If you look at Bleed on the surface, it's just an open E flat string just for the majority of the song, give or take here and there. And I think the metal elitists, guitar elitists, the old school, you know, cats that don't like 8-string and don't like gent, they don't understand just how hard Bleed is, or Dancers is, or Rational Gaze is. Like, they just don't, I don't think people physically understand how hard it is. Back when I was doing covers on this channel, I really don't do too many covers anymore. I'm not really into that, but when I was, man, Bleed took me 5 months to learn. Rational Gaze took me about 2 months to learn. New Millennium Side Night Christ took me about 2 months to learn. What I'm getting at is, guys, that the sheer physicality and mental game of trying to remember everything as well as play everything that Meshuggah writes is so hard, and I don't think people get that. Say what you want about gent, say what you want about 8-string guitars, man. If this stuff was written on 2 strings, it'd be so hard to play. What I'm getting at is, guys, I love Meshuggah. I love Martin and Frederick. I love their gear. I love their technique. I love the stuff that they create. And for the life of me, I don't know how or why Meshuggah is not like up there with like Metallica or Slayer or Megadeth or Anthrax, the big 4. You know what I mean? I don't get how they're not up there with Pantera. I don't get it. When you say the word Meshuggah in the general public, people have no idea what you're talking about, you know what I mean? They think it's like a food or like, you know, sugar, you know what I mean? People don't know who Meshuggah is. Bottom line, I'll wave the Meshuggah flag to the day I die. Martin and Frederick, heavily influential on me. I love this band. I love these guys. That's why they are the #1 slot for the most underrated guitar players of all time. So guys, that is my list. Whew, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. If you have a list yourself, leave it down below. I would love to hear you guys' response to my list. April 21st in real time, that is April 21st, 2019, I'm giving away the STL Tones Howard Benson Suite via Patreon, link down below. $5 tier if you guys want to enter in that. If you're brand new to my channel, thank you so much for watching to the end of this. If you want to hit that subscribe button, join my friends and family here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. As always, my dudes, stay metal. I'll see you guys next time.